Let's try and make sense of these developments. Joining you on the broadcast is Ambassador Vivek Kaju, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon is former Director General of Defence Intelligence Agency. Also with me is Sana Hashmi, a visiting fellow of Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation. I first want to cut across to India today's Shiv Aroor for more on this. Shiv, how do we see Union Home Minister Amit Shah's statement at Kibithoo?
Gaurav, the reason why Amit Shah's words carry a lot of weight as opposed to, the annual mind games that China plays vis-a-vis Arunachal Pradesh is because India very rarely feels the need to, say something of this kind. That is the reason why it is so powerful. You never see India making aggressive comments as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, about Tibet is concerned. Most of the comments that come out from the Indian system are, usually in reaction to something that China has said. And usually they are very tempered comments, which follow a certain standard protocol of, China cannot, make these kinds of comments.
Okay.
The fact is what Amit Shah has said, that this is not the last village, but the first village, is kind of, exploding with significance. What does he actually mean? Does he mean that this is a new frontier? Does it mean that, China has been put on notice as far as its territorial aggression is concerned? Does it mean that India knows something that China does not know? Because the baseline is, of course, true, that India is sending out a signal to China that, you can play as many mind games as you want, but you've become tired and predictable as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned. Here you've got the Home Minister spending a night 1 kilometer away from the line of actual control, the frontier between India and Tibet. And I will say Tibet especially at this point of time, because that is that is the kind of mind game and language and currency that China actually understands. You've got a situation where once again the messaging is very clearly that India is not a pushover, not only militarily, not only strategically at the frontier, but also in terms of mind games. And this is something that you've seen, you and I have both seen, change quite dramatically since 2020. After Galwan, there has been a line in the sand that India has drawn in terms of mind games, in terms of messaging, and in terms of the show of force on the ground. It's happened in the central sector, it's most certainly happened in Ladakh, and we do know it has happened in Tawang as well very, very recently. So the words used by Amit Shah, in Kibithoo, in Arunachal Pradesh, hold a great deal of significance. How they will actually manifest there remains to be seen.
It is the India-Tibet border. China is illegally occupying Tibet, we all know that. But Sana, what's the view in Taiwan? Is China actually wargaming a forcible occupation of Taiwan and now not waiting for the 2049 deadline?
No, I don't think anyone is really worried in Taiwan, because even though I feel that it's not as intense as the live fire drills in August, but now what they have done is, of course, with the aircraft AC Shandong, now what they're trying to do is to they're trying to show that they could launch an attack on Taiwan from the east side. So now they are trying to show that China could really carry out attack from multiple fronts. So I think it's directly threatening that, China really wants to invade Taiwan, and it could happen if US and Taiwan continue exchanges.
Okay. General Dhillon, your assessment of the Chinese exercise, joint sword, pressure tactics, or a real war game to see whether they can actually attack Taiwan from multiple sides and forcibly occupy it, defying what Taiwan calls is its porcupine-like defense system?
Good evening, Gaurav, and good evening to all your viewers. This is the intimidation which Chinese are always, as Shiv Aroor just said, the mind games. They always play mind games, and with India, they have been doing it in the past, but now when we retaliate, actually on the ground, the game has changed. Now, this is not a sheer exercise. You don't come for exercise with an aircraft carrier Shandong, the H-6 bombers, which are nuclear capable, the Eastern Theater Command displaying the mobile launchers. All these are intimidating weapon systems. And they're trying to convey a message to Taiwan, because your leader is visiting USA, and this is what we will do in retaliation. Another very important aspect which is being missed out so far is the Russians. The Russia very candidly saying China's right to exercise in these areas. Now this has happened for the first time openly. Now, this needs to be taken cognizance of. and then US air base presence at Okinawa island of Japan.
Yeah.
And US merely saying we are watching the situation.
That's very
Japan
interesting.
is concerned, as you brought out in your preamble. Japan is monitoring the situation.
Yes.
So it's a very, very hot situation out there. And I think the world needs to take a notice of it. And China...
Stronger notice of what the world... Okay, Ambassador Kaju, is China sending out a message to its domestic audience, given, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's visit to the US? Or is this your assessment that China is actually wargaming a real takeover of Taiwan by force, given perhaps the fact that US is distracted in Ukraine?
No, I think it is largely to the domestic audience, because China would know well that if it seeks to change the status quo within Taiwan through military force, then the US, if it wishes to retain its position as the world's preeminent power, will have simply no option but to exercise military means to get into the game. This is not Ukraine. This is a different this is a different situation altogether. Even if China wishes to create facts on the ground in Taiwan, it is clear to me that if the US allows that to happen, then its preeminence is over.
Okay.
So I would think that President Xi Jinping knows that despite the ideological divisions in the United States, and they are immense at the moment.
Yes.
They are in a state of chaos politically.
Absolutely.
What's happened to the former president recently, all that shows a political class which is deeply divided. Despite all that, I think the US establishment knows that Taiwan is a litmus case.
Okay.